Yes, it's a winning webinar Wednesday.
Woo! And welcome, everybody. It is a wonderful Wednesday. It is our second quarter meeting, and thank you to everyone able to be on camera and participate today. Thank you for adding your first and last names. I think everybody has it. We have one customer service I see, and if there's any way you can rename, that would be fabulous. We are asking everybody to mute, and there will be a time for you to unmute and maybe participate with Q&A because of the program we have today. We are asking and encouraging you to enjoy, pay attention, because there will be prize giveaways from Purse Vaults, and there's two separate ones. Also, at this time, it is truly an honor to introduce our IREM Georgia president, a gentleman that's been in the industry over 20 years, and he has property management experience with different senior leadership roles with national property management companies. He is with RPM, CF, and there will be more details on that later. But he is an executive vice president of operations with that company. He is serving his second-year term with IREM Georgia, and he is taking our chapter to new heights during our 50th anniversary celebration with IREM Georgia. I introduce Kevin Owens.
Thank you, Deborah. I really appreciate that. Oh, that's nice. I see some hand claps. That's very nice. Thank you again, Deborah, for the introduction. Really appreciate everyone joining us today. Welcome to all of you to IREM Georgia's second membership meeting for 2021 or 2021. We are now officially called to order. As Deborah mentioned earlier, for those of you who might have missed it, earlier this morning, IREM hosted a couple of sessions. The first is what we call our Connection Corner. It's where talent meets opportunity. It's where students and professionals who are interested in connecting, potentially regarding job opportunities, are welcome to attend. So companies with open positions are encouraged to attend. Individuals who might be looking for new opportunities are encouraged to attend. And we always appreciate that chance to connect employers with potential associates for their new companies or for their companies. So thank you to Tatiana Dwight with Fogelman and to Ashley Simeon with Colliers for hosting that event. We also had our industry partner orientation this morning. This is where current new partners or partners who might be interested in joining IREM Georgia can come, learn more about us, about our industry partner program, which frankly is one of the best in the industry, and learn more about that and consider the opportunity to join us as well. We've had a lot of industry partner growth in the last year or so, including so far this year. And I really appreciate all the efforts that our team continues to make to move that ball forward. So we'll be sending out a new list of all of our partners sometime this week, no later than Friday the 23rd. So please be on the lookout for that. And then one other thing to mention is immediately following this session, from 1:30 to 2:30, we're hosting a membership and education orientation for any real estate professionals who are interested in learning about IREM member benefits, about upcoming courses, about scholarships, and other information related to IREM and IREM Georgia. We'll have special guests from our headquarters, and Deborah Westphal, obviously, and Jasmine Sylvester will join as well as our membership committee co-chairs. You know, in thinking through the last year, as we all probably have been doing for the last year, one of the things that I think has been a positive outcome of this whole situation is the increased availability of virtual learning opportunities. I want to encourage all of you to continue to take advantage of as many of those as you can. IREM certainly offers a lot of them, and you can get more information about anything IREM does on the IREM and or the IREM Georgia website. But perhaps even more important than the opportunity to increase our knowledge, to learn more, it is that the information we absorb is actually put into action, that we do something with that knowledge. I want to really encourage every person in this meeting to remember the importance of taking everything that we learn, everything that we gain in the way of knowledge, and actually applying it to our everyday personal and professional lives. Let's take the knowledge that we gain, let's put some action behind it. You know, a brand new, beautiful paintbrush is pretty worthless to the painter if it's left in its original packaging. A carpenter can't reap the reward of a new chisel or a new plane if they're left in the toolbox. And you can't do anything with a laptop to gain access to the wide world that you could learn from if you leave it in its original packaging either. The tools that we gain, the tools that we have are of no use to us unless we actually use them. So what are you doing with what you're learning? What action are you taking? What are you making happen? We've been talking about writing our story for the last year and a half as a theme for IRM Georgia. What impact have you made with that information? What impact have you made with the knowledge you've learned? What are you doing differently to write a different story? I want to encourage you to do that. The opportunities are limitless. Everything is at your fingertips, but you have to take advantage of those opportunities, and you have to be willing to take action steps if you want to be everything you can be as a leader. So think about that as we go through this session today. You are certainly going to have an opportunity to learn information you need to have today. But it's going to be up to you and up to me and up to us to take this information and put it into action. Because unless we put it into action, it's going to be worthless to us. So I encourage you with that. Listen, pay attention, ask questions, learn today. But well beyond that, after we leave this session today, think about what you can do to apply that knowledge. What can you do to put into action the information you gained today? If we'll do that, we'll be better for it as leaders, we'll be better for it as an organization, and your companies will be better for it too. We have a lot of excitement. We have a lot going on. We have a lot to do today. Before we kick off our panel discussion, I want to hand it over to one of our co-chairs of the Industry Partner Committee, Portland's Director of Ancillary Services, Mr. Jonathan Kern.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much, Kevin. And I want to take a brief moment to call out our sponsors and everybody in our industry partner who has done such a big graceful act in sponsoring us today. Let's hear it for Affinity Waste Solutions.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. I appreciate that. My name is Stephanie Owens, and I work for Affinity Waste Solutions. I am the Regional Sales Executive for Georgia. I'm proud to say that I have been in the multifamily for over 16 years now. Affinity Waste Solution is a faith-based, family-run, veteran-operated valet trash company, as well as bulk trash and trash outs. My role with Affinity Waste Solution is to focus on building long-lasting relationships. I am proud to say that Affinity Waste Solution has never lost a partnership due to poor customer service. I hope you keep Affinity Waste Solutions on your mind for your valet trash needs. Stephanie Owens, Affinity Waste Solution, trash done right.
Woo. Thank you so much, Stephanie. Next up, we have Sesmas. Connie with Sesmas.
Hello, everybody. Hi, I'm Connie with Sesmas Tree Service. I'm the Office and Client Relations Manager with Sesmas Tree Service. We provide tree care services to both commercial and residential clients throughout all of Georgia. Our service include tree trimming, pruning, removals, and stump grinding, and emergency tree services. Lastly, we are one of the few corporations that have a certified tree expert and certified arborist. Call and let us know if we can help you in any way. Again, Connie with Sesmas Tree Service, here to serve you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Connie. Brendan with Solitude.
Thank you, Jonathan. Hello, I'm Brendan Donnelly, Business Development Consultant with Solitude Lake Management. Here at Solitude Lake Management, we are dedicated to making water a more healthy and beautiful part of our world. In that pursuit, we offer sustainable solutions that improve water quality, enhance beauty, preserve natural resources, and reduce our environmental footprint. Solitude is dedicated to providing clients with the most complete and cost-effective solutions for the management of their lakes, stormwater ponds, wetlands, and fisheries. Our services range from water quality control with algae and aquatic weeds, installing aeration and fountains, fishery services, sediment removal, and erosion repair and control. At Solitude Lake Management, we believe that beautiful, well-balanced bodies of water promote good health, happiness, and meaningful experiences with our clients. That's why we offer cutting-edge technologies and techniques for keeping lakes and ponds in their optimal state for the benefit of all living things below and above the water surface. Please connect to me if there's ever a need for lake or pond maintenance needs at your properties. I look forward to working with you. Thanks, Jonathan.
Thank you, Brendan. And last but certainly not least, we have Allied.
And she's asked for me to mention her. She got called out for new business at the last minute, but we all have probably had a great chance and opportunity to meet Robin Hicks Moon. She's been a partner for several years. She is with Allied International Cleaning Services. They cover commercial, retail, industrial, and now multifamily. She's also certified in all COVID requirements to perform and treat as needed per request. She is a jewel. She's a walking miracle. She had a stroke years ago and she regained herself in complete use, no evidence. She's fabulous. She's beautiful, got a great heart. We love Robin Hicks Moon with Allied International Cleaning Services. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you, Deborah. Thank you, Allied, and thank you to all of our IPs. We really appreciate all of you and all of our members. Please take note of our IPs who sponsored today, and please reach out to them for any needs you may have. Thanks, everybody.
Jonathan, I think you're supposed to be announcing the prizes next.
Oh, okay.
Actually, we're going to do prizes near the end, but thank you and pay attention to today's program because that's how we're going to have our winners. Thank you. So I think it's on to you, Drew.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Deborah. Hello and good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the second quarterly meeting for IREM Georgia, where we will be tackling the sometimes uncomfortable topic of diversity, equity, and inclusion. You know, no matter how much our industry focuses on DEI, some people still get uncomfortable talking about it. Some people feel as if their thoughts and experiences don't belong in the conversation. And some people don't want to say the wrong thing for fear of offending. And some just don't know where to start. If you're in the position to open the conversation about diversity, equity, and inclusion needs on your team, or for a role for which you are hiring, we want you to go into that conversation as prepared as possible. A few key points to note during today's conversation. Diversity is about understanding, respecting, and valuing the differences between people, including demographics like sex, gender, race, sexual orientation, age, etc., and even other differences not often discussed like education level, personalities, and experiences. Inclusion is the building of a collaborative environment that promotes the participation and appreciation of all its team members. And equity, well, that refers to a state where everyone who falls into a class such as the ones I just mentioned have a level playing field. What we know is that when diversity, inclusion, and equity all work together, your workforce is empowered to bring their absolute best to the table. Here are 5 major advantages to fostering a more diverse workplace. 1, an expanded creativity and problem solving. You've got better decision making, increased profitability and productivity, enhanced employee engagement and retention, and lastly, a better company reputation. Really, there's no need to take my word for any of this. However, we have 2 absolutely fantastic guests lined up for you today. So allow me a moment to go ahead and introduce them. First and foremost, Ms. Alex Jacku, CPM. She's the CEO of Hayes Gibson Property Services and has not only been named a woman of influence in real estate by Real Estate Forum magazine, but has also been named as one of the women changing the face of property management by, you guessed it, IREM. And Jasmine Sylvester, CPM ACOM. She's a senior property manager with Pine Tree LLC, responsible for a Southeast retail portfolio based right here in Atlanta. Jasmine also recently served as the 2020 chair for the IREM Diversity Advisory Board and has been recognized as an IREM Diversity Scholar. Alex and Jasmine, good afternoon. How are you ladies doing?
Really well. It's snowing in Indianapolis.
Fantastic.
Great. Thank you so
Not
much
really.
for having us.
It is not snowing here in Atlanta. It's 184 degrees and I'm wearing a cashmere sweater. I wish I was with you, Alex, to say the least. Well, ladies, I'm so glad that you guys could join us today. I know we have a wonderful panel, lots of items and topics to discuss. Real quick, before we really kind of kicked off the planning for this session, we did poll our membership base about various questions and items that they were hoping that we would cover today. We really wanted that buy-in, a term that we'll discuss a little later. So just a quick reminder so that we can cover all of our bases. We do respectfully request that we try to keep all of our responses to about a 2-minute time frame so that we can allot for those topics to be addressed, as well as allot for time for a Q&A for our new joinees afterwards. So what do y'all say we kick it off?
Let's do
Sound
it.
good? All right, fantastic. So before diving in, my first question, Alex, it's actually for you. I feel like the best way for us to really kind of wrap our minds around DE&I is to first kind of understand the psychology of prejudice in the first place. Where does it come from? And then ultimately, how can we take that and manage our biases and manage those stereotypes during the hiring process?
Well, it's a complicated issue. I've done a little bit of research on kind of what psychologists say about prejudice, and prejudice comes in all kinds of forms. It's racism, it's sexism, it's ageism, it's xenophobia, it's nationalism, it's religious prejudices, but it comes from the way our mind works. Our mind works by sorting information. Humans generally dislike ambiguity, so they like to categorize and sort information so it's easier to retrieve. And what psychologists say is what you end up doing is making what are called mental mistakes. What do we mean by a mental mistakes? When people look at differences, they look at people within their own group or sphere as being like-minded, as having minimal differences. But when they look at out groups, they tend to look at exaggerating those differences and determining that people in those out groups are all the same. So we make those mental mistakes and we act on those prejudices. So that's one piece of it. The other piece of it is clearly our environment, the influence of those around us. Babies aren't born racists. Babies aren't born sexist. But over the course of time, they begin to have the impact of their environment. Let me give you an example in the extreme. Some of you may remember your history and remember Thurgood Marshall, the wonderful Associate Justice of the Supreme Court, that argued Brown versus the Board of Education in the case of separate but equal. And in that case, he cited a psychologist, Dr. Kenneth Clark, and his wife, Mamie Clark, who did a study with Black children in a segregated school. And they put those children in a room to observe them, and they gave each of them a Black doll and a white doll. And they asked those Black children individually, which doll would you rather play with? Which doll is prettier? Which doll is the good doll? And you had Black children reaching for the white doll and becoming upset when they were asked which doll looks most like you. Environment created a situation where even though the mind is sorting information, it sorted it in a very different way. So Thurgood Marshall was able to argue successfully in Brown v. Board of Education that separate but equal does not create the kind of inclusion that we have all been struggling with in this country for generations. So long answer to a short question. We're uncomfortable with ambiguity, we sort information, and we make mental mistakes as a result of it.
Got it. Absolutely. You are absolutely correct. Discrimination in whatever facet, outlook, mindset, it is definitely something learned that we're definitely not necessarily born with. So, any advice on how we can kind of eliminate some of that and general bias when it comes to hiring? 30 seconds or less.
We've got to watch our unconscious biases. And, Jasmine's got some wonderful information, but one of the things that I would caution everyone about is our hiring practices, sorting people. For example, we may use software that screens resumes for certain words, and those algorithms in and of themselves can create discriminatory practices. We may choose new hires to have people with a certain GPA average. And that GPA average might sound like a good idea, but if you have diverse candidates, minority candidates, who are more likely to work to put themselves through school and may not have the same ability to study, their GPA may reflect that, but it may not have anything to do with their ability and skill set to do a job. So again, those categorizations and sortings come into play even in the hiring process.
Wow, we try to allow technology to make it easier for us so that we can work smarter, not necessarily harder, and here potentially could actually be a hindrance. Jasmine, to you, piggybacking off that question regarding recruiting, how does one attract diverse candidates to the industry of real estate management? And in your opinion, what are some hiring practices that really limit that access?
So when we have the discussion around DE&I as it relates to the workplace, specifically within the real estate industry, it is often discussed as simply a box to check off or a sort of philanthropic, initiative. However, I see it as a way of viewing all things. It should be more of a lens in which we are governing our organizations and best practices employed, within our ordinary everyday lives. Attracting diverse candidates or diversifying your talent pool means you have to employ strategy around your outreach methods and your hiring practices. I think Alexandra may have mentioned that before. The first step is really your candidate sourcing. Where are you going to seek such candidates? In order to attract a diverse talent pool, one must broaden the scope and utilize several different posting methods. By posting and sharing in a variety of ways, this ensures that the positions are being seen by a broad audience, by a variety of applicants. A large issue with DE&I and those who may fall into these underrepresented groups is that they're never given the ask. That is where the lack of access to opportunity rests. If no one shares the opportunity with them, they don't even have a chance to present their best selves for, to be a viable candidate. we must correct that piece, and this is one way of doing so. We can utilize professional organizations focused on serving diverse populations. We can reach out to alumni associations, networking groups, traditionally Black colleges and universities, women's colleges as well. There are so many groups, especially here in the Metro Atlanta area, that we can partner with or pull from to attract these diverse applicants. With the candidate sourcing also comes rewording of job descriptions to ensure that the wording does not turn around these viable candidates as well. Encouraging referrals from your minority employees in-house. Your existing employees are your best resource for recruiting other top tier talent. You are missing sorely if you're not engaging your existing employees and saying, who do you know that would be great for an opportunity? They are your biggest. So utilize that resource as well. The proof is also in the pudding. So if you're trying to attract diverse talent, simply say that. Advertise that you're looking for a diverse workplace. It is important that potential employees know what your values are in that organization. So let them know via your job postings, the website, and other content where your company stands in terms of establishing.
Absolutely, Jasmine. I love that. You know, you are so correct when you talk about
A diverse place. If the goal is to attract a diverse group of candidates, does your website reflect such? Do a deep dive there to ensure that your page speaks for itself as well, so that when people go there to apply for these opportunities, they're saying, now that's a place where I want to be. It looks like me. I can literally see myself there. Advertise your values. People are big on values. I think next, it is imperative that all hiring managers with us, it is important to ensure that those that are doing the hiring, those that are reviewing the resumes, those that are conducting the interviews have the tools to check their bias at the door and to leave them there. Lastly, is an important method to evaluate everything that you've done. All of these things that you're putting in place, it is so vital to measure where you're going, to measure how you're doing, and to improve upon your efforts. You don't know where you're going until you know where you've been and how you're doing. Take in the good, the bad, evaluate your employees to see what they're thinking about and what you can do better. Your employees are always your best resource for information. Chat with them. Let them speak.
Never has a truer statement been stated. You are absolutely correct. Your current employee base is your best reference. It's free marketing,
it's
if
free.
you will. That's right. And it's true, and it's eternal. And there's, you know, like they say, there's no better PR than word of mouth. So I'm definitely 100% behind that. And you think about even with current policies, things being so limiting, like your grooming policy or your uniform policy. Are you being respectful and inclusive of various religious types? You know, I just saw something recently that Disney is modifying their policy and allowing a second hole for your ears to be pierced, and smaller visible tattoos, and more gender inclusive hairstyles, which I thought was very interesting, but also limiting, to say specifically in 2021. So, you know, the call is coming from inside the house is kind of the point that I'm trying to get to from there. Alex, I want to talk about microaggressions. I know that's a term that maybe a lot of people on the call don't really know what that is. You know, we talk so much about race, color, ethnicity, but we rarely talk about the sort of subcategories of prejudice, such as a few you mentioned earlier, ableism, classism, or even bias towards folks of a certain weight class. Can you expound upon the importance of inclusion for those marginalized individuals, as well as the accompanying microaggressions when interacting with them?
Sure. And bear with me, I'm going to cite some statistics, so I'm going to look at some notes, but I want to read you kind of the classic definition of microaggressions and give you some examples. Microaggressions are the everyday slights, indignities, put downs, and insults that people of color, women, LGBTQ populations, or those who are marginalized experience in their day-to-day interactions with people. Classic examples. You're talking to a disabled person and you feel like you need to shout. You're talking to an African-American woman who has beautiful natural hair, and you ask how long it takes her to do that in the morning. You talk to a maintenance supervisor who happens to be African-American and overhear a vendor say to them, "God bless your cotton-picking little heart." We've heard that expression before. Isn't he articulate? Boy, you know, for someone your age, you sure know your way around computers. Those are all microaggressions. And those microaggressions affect the quality and standard of living for marginalized people. Let me repeat that. It affects the standard of living and quality of life for marginalized people. There are only 33% white American males in the population. No offense to all you white males out there, but there are only 33% of you. However, you hold 80% of all tenured positions in universities. You're 80% of the House of Representatives. You're 85% of the U.S. Senate. 92% of Forbes 400 executive CEO level positions. 90% of public school superintendents, 99.9% of athletic team owners, and 98% of presidents. There's something wrong with that picture. And it comes from, you know, the kind of categorization and the sorting that we do. We talk about ableism. 40% of adults with disabilities in their prime working years in the United States have a job. At a time when we are all screaming for good employees, only 40% of adults with disabilities in their prime working years have a job, compared to what I call temporarily abled prime age adults at 79%. Remember, we're all temporarily abled. We will all be disabled at some point. And if we look further at people with disabilities and look at marginalized group within the disabled community, it gets even worse. Only 33% of African Americans who are disabled have jobs today. So the way in which we approach the workforce, the way in which we deal with those subconscious biases and how they play out is incredibly important. And it's also important for us to call out those microaggressions. And we don't need to do it in an aggressive way, but it's sometimes good to take someone aside and say, I am sure you didn't mean anything by your "God bless your cotton picking heart" expression, but let me help you understand why that might be offensive to someone. And that changes the culture in a workplace significantly when we help educate people about the impact of the way they conduct themselves in their conversations.
Absolutely. I appreciate that. You know, I've been guilty of it myself. I think every day is an opportunity for us to learn and to be better and to grow. And just a couple of weeks ago, I said something to a friend of mine in reference to the peanut gallery. I had no idea that that term was based, had a bit of a racial background in regards to a movie theater. And they took the moment to kind of educate me, and I've completely eliminated it from my conversation altogether, and was extremely grateful that I was able to have that experience and learn and grow and evolve, because that's what we're all here to do. Alex, I got another question for you. You know, I've had the opportunity to watch your career kind of evolve over the past couple of years and my 12 years in multifamily real estate. And one thing that I do know about you is that you're a woman of action and you maintain a pretty steady focus in the arena of politics. Now, we're not having a political discussion today, but I am kind of curious your thoughts on the Equality Act and even more recently, the presidential administration's enforcement of LGBTQIA covered inclusions that affect the Fair Housing Act. How has and will this affect the rental market and even potentially grow from that and see future changes in employment laws in relation to DEI?
Sure. You know, I was hearing Professor Jason Johnson speak after the Derek Chauvin verdict yesterday, and one of the ways he was talking about how do we bring racial justice? How do we bring equity and inclusion into our culture? And basically, Dr. Johnson said, when all else fails, legislation is sometimes the cure. And when we look at the Equality Act, originally that was introduced in May of 2017 under a previous administration and passed overwhelmingly with bipartisan support through the Congress, and then the Senate never took it up. Well, Representative Cicilline introduced it again in February. It passed with less of a majority, don't understand why, but it had 224 co-sponsors and extends protections for sex, sexual orientation, gender identity in the workplace. And this is a conversation that's long overdue. It needs to be had. And I think will sensitize employers to look more carefully and more closely at their hiring practices. But more importantly, not just their hiring practices. We need to be talking about how do we improve career mobility within companies? How do we identify and promote people with other groups into positions of leadership? With respect to the Fair Housing Act, same issue. You know, we've unfortunately, because of congressional inaction, it's come about through an executive order, but the president signed in February. But it again sensitizes us as a nation to be thinking about including people that have been marginalized, and the gay community and has been marginalized for way too long, and seeing it brought to the forefront is certainly welcoming and long overdue.
Yeah, and that's effective now. So I would like for everybody on this call,
February the 15th.
Yeah, to please take note of that and make sure that your staffs and your people throughout your company on a global platform that is shared with them, that is now an inclusion. You know, I like how you were talking about, perfect segue into my next question for Jasmine, and promoting and identifying leaders, you know, within those marginalized community. Jasmine, a fellow woman of action, and your deep-seated history in all things diversity, equity, inclusion, from your firsthand experience, what benefits have you seen from implementing diverse leadership teams in property management?
Well, diversity drives innovation. I think everyone should know that at this point. It drives innovation and it promotes and encourages eclectic ideas. Having diverse leadership teams gives space for team members to bring their authentic selves to work and to grant the team permission to now perform at the highest of levels without the burden of prejudices or biases being employed in that space. Diverse teams are more engaged, simply afforded the opportunity to focus on the collective objective. We're there to do the work, and that's going to be the focus once all of the other things are put to bed and to put to rest. And the objective, especially within our industry, is to drive revenue and to provide impeccable customer service. It empowers the team of employees to engage and to bring out their wide range of skill sets within their wheelhouse. When the teams reflect the community it serves, there is an added benefit to the customer service level there, which again supports argument of increased revenue. We're here to do the work, and once we put to rest all of the things that really just don't matter, we can then bring ourselves to the table, have our best ideas there to create an environment that just allows us to be a think tank, to do the best work that we came to do.
I love that. Breed an environment of collaboration, and innovation will kind of naturally prosper. Absolutely.
And Drew, one of the things I'd like to add, because Jasmine is so on point, is that when you create that kind of an environment, experts say you create what's called a psychological safety net.
Mm.
And what we mean by psychological safety is that people feel comfortable voicing their concerns, expressing their opinions, and not feeling marginalized. So, to Jasmine's point, to reinforce it, that culture creates that psychological safety net that marginalized people need in order to feel included.
100%. Psychological safety net. I'm gonna write that down. That's a great one. Jasmine, this is a kind of a further extension of kind of the same question, for our friends on the call today that are from a little more of a boutique style property management organization. And they may feel that they don't have the same resources as the larger players do. Can you tell me some sustainable, attainable, and realistic ways that they can implement a diversity, equity, and inclusion plan within their own company? And even more importantly, any references for any programs that IREM offers?
I mean, there is no one size fits all strategy here. What may work for one organization may certainly not work or be feasible for a smaller firm. That's just a given. There are several things that smaller firms or organizations can do to implement a DE&I strategy. I think the first step really is to audit your organization and ask yourself as a leader what the current status is in terms of diversity, equity, inclusion within your organization as it stands. What is the current makeup? What practices are in place that levels the playing field for both your male and your female employees? Are they being evaluated equally based on merit? And are they being compensated equally and fairly as well? That's very big. And that's a great starting point. Is there opportunity for everyone to advance? Is there inclusivity of people of color and LGBTQIA? Once you start there, then become transparent about your findings. Have an open door policy. Get feedback from your employees on these findings. Invite ideas and input on, hey, what matters to you here and in this workplace? Generally, to create an inclusive environment, companies must encourage employees to be themselves while celebrating, not pointing out, celebrating the differences and similarities, uplifting your employees by allowing them to conduct programs, events, charitable initiatives, focus on issues that matter to them. That's the important piece here. Although this might seem relatively easy and simple, it's very important that the change mindset of every player involved is through education, is through awareness and cultural sensitivity training as well. There are so many resources available that you can conduct in-house training for your employees. There's so many resources and material that you can pull and piece together to have a course or a training session or even a roundtable around the topic of what you can do to bring about cultural sensitivity awareness, unconscious bias awareness and training, tricks and tools for the staff that you have already in place. Another way would be to recognize the cultural nuances that you have there in your staff. Allowing days off and celebration for their particular holidays observed. I know that Ramadan is being observed right now at this time. It would be great to share this information with all of the staff as a way of supporting your employee who may be observing the holiday, but also to educate the other staff members that this thing exists and to bring about awareness. Volunteer days is also a great way of supporting the local community and other local initiatives that mean something and to be impactful. I know that many organizations are now making MLK Day an official day off. However, it could be a day on and a way to honor Dr. King's legacy of service by working with the community and building unity in relationships by way of community serving. Of course, as we mentioned before, when an opportunity opens up, employing DE&I lens during the hiring process is going to be vital as well. There may not be many opportunities that become available, but when there is, having that DE&I lens throughout that process of outreaching is important. And then we employ vendors every day. Having a DE&I lens in your vendor selection process is another way of employing that strategy. These are small gestures that really matter. These are things that we can put into play now that can have long-term benefit. Big or small, everybody can do it.
I love it. Jasmine, you are a literal textbook on all things DE&I. I could listen to you chat about this all day long. It really gets me going. There's so much to unpack here. We've only got a couple more minutes left. I do want to try to save some time for quick Q&A. 30 seconds or less. I'm going to ask you and Alex the same question because I think that it's an important one for anybody on the call who's been a victim of ill-perceived perceptions, right? That's led to bias or even any of those who may unfortunately experience in the future. 30 seconds or less, what advice would you give those individuals so they can transform that experience into a message of hope?
Give yourself time to process and to feel it because it is your truth. And once you process that, speak. Be empowered to speak on it because nothing will change if you don't. And as an ally, be open to receiving one's truth. Because you didn't experience it doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. Be open to it and empathize with that person as a.
I love it. I love it. Alex, for you, my friend.
Well, I think we owe it to ourselves to expand our sphere and look at the relationships and friendships that we have and the associations that we have and how diverse are they truly. When your child walks up to a parent and says, "Mom, how come you don't have any Black friends?" And that's a pretty telling question. So I think we need to expand our own sphere, understand different people, reach out to different people, seek them out. And I'm going to piggyback on what Jasmine said. I guess I'm old enough now that I am less fearful about being vocal. Not that I ever was terribly fearful about being vocal, for those of you that know me on the call. But speak up. Don't let injustices slide by without taking action or without calling them out. We are at a pivotal cross point. I had someone tell me yesterday, because of the Chauvin verdict, justice was done. Justice was not done yesterday. Accountability was done. And it was only accountable as a result of a very brave 17-year-old woman who stood on a corner and videotaped a scene while she was being threatened. So we have work to do, and we have to take action in a very positive way. And we start with ourselves and the sphere in which we operate and the people with whom we surround ourselves so that we can better understand.
Absolutely. And there are so many layers to that sphere, to say the least. Again, there's so much that we could really kind of unpack here as we continue to navigate this topic. If anybody has any questions, concerns, comments, complaints, queries, go ahead and throw them in the chat for us, and I'll be sure to follow up with you all individually with responses from both Alex and Jasmine. We are running a little short on time. Alex, Jasmine, I can tell you guys wholeheartedly that with individuals such as yourselves on the front lines leading the charge, I am elated to see how this topic continues to unfold in the present and the near future. And again, for everybody on the call, please remember, diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace are an essential business practice that high-performing companies prioritize. We're building environments that help their employees thrive. In the words of my dear friend and mentor, Dr. Debbie Phillips, I want you guys to write this down because this is big, 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 all right? Diversity is where everyone is invited to the party. Equity means that everyone gets the chance to contribute to the playlist. And inclusion means everybody gets the opportunity to dance. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll leave you with this. If you can implement at least a few of the strategies as we have outlined for you today, you will be giving yourself and your firm one of today's biggest competitive advantages while also doing a little good. One of my personal mantras is the energy out is the energy in. So get out there and do some good today, folks. A huge IREM Georgia thank you to both Alex Jacu and Jasmine Sylvester for sharing their insight and expertise today. Ladies, I cannot thank you enough for donating your time to such a worthy cause. And to everybody on this call, a hearty dose of gratitude from myself, the program committee, and IREM Georgia. Till next time, back to you, Kevin.
Awesome. Thank you all very much. Alex, Jasmine, Drew, thank you so much for today's session. One of the first things I learned as a rule in public speaking is to know when to be quiet. There's nothing more I can add that would make what happened today any better. So thank you very much, Alex and Jasmine, for your insights, Drew for moderating this very important topic, and thank you all for joining us today. It's been really fantastic. So let's move on now. I want to turn it over to David and Wendy for a few prize giveaways.
Awesome, awesome. I think we have one prize giveaway that we're going to be doing. Is that right, Deborah?
Actually, you're halfway right. We have two. One is an automatic giveaway. It was based on the person that gave enough invitations out to others in order to have a lot of guests. And so far today, we've had 2 other events, but we've had a total of 57 participants. And we have 40 more registered for the next session, which is all about membership and full benefits. So the winner of the London Fog Underseat Travel Bag went to a very deserving gentleman, I guess you could all agree, Mr. Drew Williams, the DW of RPM CF.
It was not rigged, I promise. It was not rigged.
No, but he did personally send out over 100 and something emails to invite folks, and he did a lot of phone calling. And we encourage that. We appreciate it. We don't take it for granted. And David has a pop question for all of us.
Yes, that pop question, if I remember right, was,
and the
help me out, Deborah.
First person has to write it in the chat box, the answer,
Yes.
and that's going to be the winner.
Put it in the chat box.
Open your chat box.
All right, here we go. And it wasn't when Deborah graduated college. That was another question we had, but nobody wanted that one. If I have it right, IREM was chartered in 1934, but what year was IREM Georgia, the chapter, started? When was that formed? What year was the IREM Georgia chapter formed?
Drew Williams was
Drew
the
was
first.
the first. Jonathan Kern, though, quick second. Nice. It is 1971. Very nice. So congratulations. Woo.
I will tell you what you won: a Kate Spade reversible tote valued at $300. Thank you very much, industry partner sponsors, and Wendy Moza with Purse Vaults. We appreciate that. We appreciate everyone's participation. David, good. We were founded in 1971. This is our 50th year anniversary with IREM Georgia, the Golden Gala year.
Woohoo!
Thank you very much.
Speaking of that, Deborah, we've got some very exciting things happening this year with IRM Georgia. I do want to reference everyone back to our first annual, and I will say annual because I think we're going to do it again, first annual golf tournament, which is happening May the 19th. It is our first in-person event since February of 2020. So I am excited about seeing everybody in person. I hope you are too. It's going to be a day of fun, of fellowship, a friendly golf competition. It will be held at the Echelon Golf Club in Alpharetta. 18 holes of golf, shotgun style. For those of you who don't know, that just means we all start at the same time. That's it. Shotgun, just like a race. You know, gun goes off, you start, we all go at the same time. If you don't play golf, however, and you'd like to attend, we are having an after golf social with awards from 4 to 6 p.m. at the Echelon Golf Club. And you can sign up for that through our website as well. I do want to have a special thank you and shout out to a few of our sponsors for this event. The gold sponsor is RPM/CF Real Estate. Those are some great people. If you haven't met them, I think you'd like them a lot. Our silver sponsors are Cortland and Graystar. Thank you very much to those fantastic organizations. And our bronze sponsors are Gibson Landscape Services and Integral Property Management. Again, fantastic organizations, and really appreciate your help with this great event. For players who will be participating, we'll enjoy a relaxing day of golf. We'll network, or we'll net weave. We'll have lunch. We'll have games, contests, maybe a drink or two, photography, golf, cash awards. I like the sound of that. But you don't have to be a great golfer. Deborah mentioned earlier, we're going to be giving prizes away for the first place team. Way to go. But we're also giving prizes away for the 7th place team, the 15th place team, and as Deborah calls it, the honest award to the last place team. So there'll be a lot of fun had by all. We also have some additional very cool prizes: a $5,000 raffle ticket, a hole-in-one prize, which is a 2021 Volvo XC90. That sounds pretty nice. We're giving away Southwest Airline flight cards, Apple iPad Air, TaylorMade M6 golf clubs. It's going to be a great time. So really encourage everybody to attend. Keep an eye out on the website for other events that are happening as well. I will point out 2 additional things. One is our next event, our next annual meeting, or next meeting this year, is on June the 16th. It will also likely be a virtual meeting, and it is a mid-year economic update. Will be some great information provided from some great panelists: Brad Dillman from Cortland, their chief economist; Chris Lyon from Cushman & Wakefield; Madeline Harper from Yardi. Great information moderated by our very own David Sayers, who is the Senior Director of Talent at Cortland. So look forward to that event in June. And then 2 more quick things. One is I want to bring your attention to the IRM Global Summit, which is in Las Vegas, October 11th through the 14th. That is still on as of today. Registration will open in June, so be on the lookout for that. And finally, we've talked about this a lot. It is our 50th anniversary at IRM Georgia. We're really excited about this. We are going to be holding a black tie golden gala at the Egyptian Ballroom at the Fox. The date is still slightly up in the air, but will be determined very quickly. And we look forward to seeing all of you there. More information regarding sponsorship opportunities and options for members and guests and partners will be coming later in May. So look forward to that as well. Again, I want to say thank you so much to everybody involved today, panelists, our moderator, everybody who participated, and those of you who attended today. As I said earlier, knowledge is great, knowledge is powerful, but it's a lot more powerful when you put it into action. So let's go put some knowledge into action today. Thank you all very much. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.